all right, Raw done. I was like, maybe I'll do a recap. I was like, depending on how it goes, depends on how I want to do a recap. And I thought this was an eventful actually night. Considering that we're leading up to Elimination Chamber, I felt that they really wanted to pack the show. The crowd was great the whole night. And also too, they really went heavy more so on the action and the wrestling more so than normally the last few for probably about a good while. Like, I want to say like probably over a month. It's been Raw opening it up promo style. This they just was like bump it. Drew McIntyre, Cody Rhodes, just came out and put on a show. I was, to be honest, I was wondering, and this along with the basically how they began the Raw and how they sort of ended the Raw. But I was wondering the whole time of how they were gonna get out of Drew and Cody. And one, they did let Cody take a loss, which I mean I'm glad about, because it's not that I'm like somebody that's just like Cody needs to lose. It's really more so that I'm like in this thing of like his story, adversity. I'm like, he hasn't really lost. There hasn't really been any like adversity at all. In a way, I want to say since probably Lesnar, all the way at Backlash or Money in the Bank, one of them. That's like the last time he had like real adversity. Cause that's like the last time he like. I want to like they said that Drew really gave him his second loss out for Roman, but I could have. I was like, he lose against. He lost against Brock Lesnar. Oh, wait, but I forgot. They can't talk about that. Anyway, Drew got the one, but got the win. I was like, the one was Solo and Jimmy coming out and causing interference against Cody, which I was like, I know everybody has their qualms and stuff about Bloodline and how they always, interfere. They come out and do this other stuff. But at least here, it really makes sense that if, like, now that Cody's over here, done disrupted the Roman Rock match, and he wants Roman, hey, I'm just like, yo, come harass that guy every time. That's what you need to do. Jimmy distracts just for Solo to get the spike. And also, I was like, this is the one time I am okay with Solo wearing the hoodie and stuff, because it's not that we don't know that it's him this time, but unlike at the Royal Rumble where it was like obvious as hell. I'm like this one where it's like it's sort of like cool, like, but I'm like, you ain't gotta do the reveal, you ain't gotta take it off and just be like it's you. It's like, just keep the whole thing on. I'd rather you just keep the whole garment on, because we know it's you anyway. Anyway, that's just my little nitpick. Either way, McIntyre took the advantage of the situation and decided to go ahead and give him that Claymore and get the 1, 2, 3. I was like, I thought it was a good interference. I thought it was a good way to have Cody like lose. I thought it was a good way to keep up with McIntyre's character. I was like, it was a great match overall. There's no need for me to go bit by bit or nothing like that. But it was a great match overall, and I was like, I like the way that all the bits went along with it all. I was like, really no way I could really say anything of like doing anything. Then after this, we got the women battle royal apparently, which it just went from the elimination chamber of losers from the qualifying match to the whole spread of like the women, from all brands. I sort of thought that was coming once, like Chelsea Green and Indy was all like how am I going to get it, and all that other stuff. It was a hell of a lot of women. It is one of them cases where it does feel like it's one of them things where it's like, oh, let's just sort of get all the women in, But considering, and I was like, I think really what it was is because the eventual winner was Raquel, and I think that's why the real sudden change. Because it even seemed like up until SmackDown that it was going to just be the loser of the qualifying matches. And I think that got switched really to let Raquel in it. Because otherwise it would have just been, Zelina, Shayna, Zoe, And because if you would have asked me before this, before her popping up, I would have said, oh, it's probably going to be Shayna or Zoe. Zoe, the young one that's sort of been in a lot of, been featured a lot on the show. Or Shayna, who, the Elimination Chamber, like, I was like, I would have liked for her to get in just because if it was me, I would have sort of put her, I was like, now granted, considering who was in charge before Trips, but I would have had her in every Elimination Chamber match. That doesn't mean she got to win it, but I was like, I would like for her to be in it, and that be sort of her thing, like she's always in the Elimination Chamber. That is like my thing, that just sort of like, like how certain records go with certain people or things like that. That's my nitpick. But once Raquel sort of showed up, then I was kind of like, okay, she's going to win this. Just because if you look at the women in the match, I was like, except for Tiffany Stratton, they all sort of make sense. I was like, Bianca, top person, just like Becky. So, that they're like in that part of having a similar motivation. Raquel and Liv, they got that motivation of getting revenge. Like I said, Tiffany Stratton's like the new one here. And so is Naomi. So you got pretty much two of like people with similar stories in the cage, where it's just like, two people that got to make the name for themselves, two people who got to find their way to WrestleMania, two people that wants to get revenge. So it just makes sense. And plus, outside of Liv, everybody else is sort of big-ish. I know like Becky and Naomi ain't like big in stature like Bianca and Raquel, but I'm like, they're not small. Like I guess in my head I'm thinking like Zelina or something like that. But either way, you need sort of another powerhouse person with Bianca in there. I feel like that's what you're sort of doing here. But anyway, it was a good sort of battle royale. I was like, I'd hate it when it's that many people, just because it's like a lot going on. Like, it's not even like the battle royal, because I was like, at least with the Royal Rumble, it's a little bit more organized in the fighting. This one is just sort of just mayhem, and it's cool. Kind of like, look, you got a bunch of people and a bunch of people going to flip in, flip out, flip in, flip out. But I thought it was great going into the last like set of people, where like Raquel, Machine, Shayna, and Zoe. And Machine got knocked out. I thought she had a real chance. They really got her out really quickly, even though she made it to the last four. Then it was just Raquel just sort of dominating between the two. And Raquel was just sitting in the ring, and it's just sort of like, is it over? Is it over? And Chelsea Green just pops up out of nowhere and, tries to do the out of nowhere elimination. Didn't work. So, but either way, I think it's still sort of obvious who's going to come out of the Elimination Chamber. As of right now, I really only got like two thoughts in my head about it. But anyway, I was like, but that was a fun match. I'm gonna say I thought Zelina had some good spots. Ivy Niles had a good spot towards the end. I was like, Zoe and Shayna, they did their thing of being a tag team, and Raquel. That was pretty much the top people I seen. I was like, oh, okay, cool. They're doing their spots in there. Then after that, say that R-Truth is awesome, because everything that he did with how they did the whole Judgment thing, how they had him do his little interview and stuff. I was like, that dude's funny. That dude great. The match itself was sort of just, I was like, it was really just, once R-Truth got in there, then it was like good, because R-Truth get to do all his moves and everybody cheering for R-Truth. So it was really the R-Truth show versus Judgment Day. But it was really just the lead up. That was really the best spot. Talk about this first before I go to the next thing of the only part of the night that I think was Garbaggio was the Rhea Ripley Nia Jax setup for their little camera interview or whatever. That I can't even try to save that. That was really just, it really was flat. And not even flat in a way of like, oh, it just didn't land. It was like, no, there was nothing there. Like, Rhea sort of did this half story about, growing up, Australia, making it, had been there since she was in the Indies. And she knew who she was, and then she's Rhea, and then Nia's like, oh, how sad, and I'm just gonna squash you, and then Rhea just like coming back at her, being like, oh, okay, you think you're stuff, but you ain't gonna do nothing once, and I don't even know that what she said. It just really, so I sort of really did zone out, but it really was that just that Rhea was sort of talking while Nia was just looking and breathing, and then she just took off her stuff, and Nia just there still breathing, and then Rhea just gets up, and Nia's still just there breathing, and I was like, what? Were they supposed to say something else? Were they supposed... You know, and it sucks because I was like, the first thing that's going to be compared to with the Matt Riddle and Seth Rollins thing, and I'm like, oh, that sucks, because I'm like, that's how that looks, and then when you're like, it's not even close, like, it didn't even feel like an attempt. Hey, it felt flat. But then we went and got to Becky coming out here doing her thing, and I'm not gonna lie, some of her stuff while she's doing her own monologue is sort of it's too long, and it's a little bit I won't say cringy, but it's just kind of like or whatever, where she just sort of like talking, and she said the thing about the hat, and then she goes to her dialogue, and it just doesn't it's not flowing right, is what I'll say. It's not flowing right. And thank God that Liv Morgan comes out, tries to talk a little bit, but then she really doesn't say too much. But then Raquel comes out. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Raquel didn't even get a chance to talk. So Raquel was going to say, like, you talk about your revenge. It was over. Naomi came out, and I was like, I didn't think it was really good until Tiffany Stratton got out there. Once she got out there and then started doing her, like, girl and all that other stuff, I was like, oh, okay, cool. It picked up better, because I'm like, Becky's probably the best, like, one of the best talkers, and she was done. So everybody else had to have their thing, and nobody else was going to talk that well. Tiffany Stratton is a girl that could talk junk, so I'm like, okay, cool. Then at that point, Bianca comes down, I'm like, all right, cool. Now we got, like, I'm like, and then Bianca's talking, and I'm like, cool. Her and Tiffany get into it, I'm like, all right. And Becky's doing, like, ad-libs in between, and I'm like, cool. Just let them three sort of talk, and y'all could jump in. That never really got a chance to happen. Cause I was like, Bianca said basically, like, you just got here to Tiffany, and like you heard Liv try to say something, but it just got overshadowed because Bianca was totally finished. And thank God that Tiffany just hit Liv in the throat, and they just started brawling. And then when they started brawling, that's all they needed. Then everything else got back to being good, where I'm just like, all right, cool, let's fight. Although there was a moment where Becky and Bianca started fighting, and Liv and Tiffany started fighting. Then you see Naomi and Raquel, and it just looked like they was like, oh, they took my partner. We'll fight, or whatever. Then Nia Jax comes in and squashes them all, and I'm like, that's what's up. I like this. I don't really need Nia Jax to come here always talking. Just wipe everybody out. I was totally fine. Once they started brawling, Nia Jax came in. That's all I needed. That was it. And Nia Jax just reigned supreme overall. I will say, when Chad Gable was talking in the back, it sounded like the crowd was booing him, and I don't know if that's I was like, cause Ivar came up after him and they booed him, and I was like, did y'all assume it was going to did y'all get some late type of like reading that's like, oh, that's not Ivar, that's Gable, and well, whatever, because he sort of did get booed, but for a good amount of time too. It didn't even stop. It was just kind of like boo. So that was weird. But once he came out, everybody was pretty much cheering for him. He fought with Ivar, and it was a good match and whatnot. He basically beat Ivar, and I was like, I guess that's the end of their thing. Cool. I was like, it was cool while it lasted, but it felt like it was really more to prolong Ivar doing something more so than getting to Chad Gable, just because Ivar fought each one of them, even did a mismatch challenge type of thing. And I was just like, oh, okay, cool. They're just trying to give Ivar something to do because they didn't capitalize on him. They should have gave him at least one Gunther match. He should have had at least one Gunther match. Like, we know he's not gonna win it, But that would have just been a good match. Like those two big athletic dudes like that, because it's not the same as like Gunther and Bronson Reed. I've more athletic than Bronson Reed. Yeah, then I was like, that's pretty much it. I was like, as Shinsuke talking to Sammy, but I was like, they just settled their match later on or whatever. But hey, I was like, probably we only got that one little brief visit from Seth. Seth didn't really come out and do nothing else. But got to the main event, Gunther, Jey Uso, and Jey Uso was getting his head beat. He was getting chopped like he's on a cutting board. That dude was taking them hits. And I was like, I'll tell you, fighting with Gunther, I'll tell you right now, that's the one where I'm like, that's not selling. Them boys feel that. Like on one hand, in my mind, I'm like, man, I want to know how that chop feels. It looks horrible. But then I'm like, didn't you just say it feels horrible? Why would you want to get chopped? I don't know. My mind just sort of does things like that. But I like Jay started getting a comeback, but it don't matter. You know who gets Gunther. He always gonna turn around. It didn't really start seeming like Jay had a real shot till he sort of like Samoan dropped him onto the announcer's table. Then a little bit later, he got a spear. Then he got a spear on the barricade. Then he got a spear on the outside. Then he got another spear. And then he got put him in the ring, gave him another spear. That's 5 spears if you can't count. That's 5 of them. Then then he gave him the splash. And it's like 1, 2, and you just hear the bell just ringing. And they go over to him, and you just see a guy in a hood, Jimmy Uso, coming out of the paint and just ruining it again for Jay. But he still had a shot. Gunther thought he had him, and Gunther didn't. And he put Gunther on the back. Then he went in and attacked Jimmy, and then he tried to do the splash, and we got rolled up by Gunther and lost a chance. And then by then, I was like, Jimmy just kicked him in the face, gave him 2 splashes, and that was the end of that. And like I said, that's how the first match ended, and that's how the last match ended. But I like the Bloodline in this type of way because the only thing I would have liked better with the Jimmy and Jey is that if it almost, and maybe they'll do this if they get brought up on SmackDown or something like that. Kind of like he sounded like, his motivation is simple, that he's like, you think you won't get a championship without me? So I was like, cool. But also too, I would like it if it was some type of direct order of like, because with The Rock and the Bloodline, I'm wondering if in the time period could he try to be, just like he could have tried to get Jay on the side, even though if it wouldn't have worked or something like that. But now that chance, I'm like, well, that's out the window or whatever. But anyway, it was a good brawl, good go home show. I think they did everything they had to do. They had the stuff that couldn't fit on the card. They got the stuff that's going to continue the card with like the women and stuff. I was like, and continuing all the WrestleMania things at the same time. So I was like, I thought it was a good overall show. Hit all the points they needed to hit. Yeah, no, I was like, no complaints, I was like, little nit-nat paddywhacks here, over there. But not too many things too serious. But other than that, that's it for the review, recap, whatever you want to call it. How you like the show, whatever. Also, apparently, CM Punk showed up after the show. I was like, they ain't really got nothing to do with anything, but he did. I was like, at Jey Uso just looking over there defeated. I was like, him and Cody just over here, CM Punk and Cody just over here doing their thing. Whatever. Good job for the crowd. But other than that, see you for next Raw or wrestling, or you got it.